The 1960s were the golden age of muscle cars, with many models boasting over 300 horsepower. The variety of these vehicles was vast, from compact coupes to luxury cars. The muscle car's roots can be traced back to the 1930s and 1940s, when moonshiners would modify their cars for more power, which also led to the creation of NASCAR. By the mid-1960s, the muscle car era was in full swing, with the 1964 Plymouth Barracuda and the 1965 Ford Mustang leading the way. Other automakers joined the scene around 1967, contributing to a surge of muscle and pony cars. Despite some questionable transmission options, these cars ruled the roads. Today, American muscle cars are popular classics due to their affordability and power. Here are 10 of the most formidable muscle car engines from the late 1960s. Number 10. Oldsmobile Rocket V8. This engine, which first appeared in 1916, evolved into the Rocket V8 of the 60s and 70s. Depending on the model and year, it had a displacement of 4.3 to 7.5 liters and produced 110 to 400 horsepower. It was a common feature in Oldsmobile vehicles, including motorhomes and some Cadillacs. Number 9. Ford Cobra Jet and Super Cobra Jet V8. These engines were used in various Ford and Mercury models, including the Thunderbird, Galaxy 500, Mustang GT 500, and GT 500 KR. The top-spec version had a displacement of 7.0 liters and featured a special 4-barrel carburetor, resulting in 335 horsepower. Number 8. Buick Nailhead V8. This was one of the more advanced V8 engines of the 1960s, with the 3.5-liter version being made from aluminum. It was also exported to the UK for use in Rover cars and eventually became the engine of choice for all Land Rover V8-powered vehicles in the 70s and 80s. Number 7. Pontiac V8. This engine shared its design with other GM V8s of the time, but produced different power outputs. It had a displacement of 4.3 to 7.5 liters and made between 120 and 310 horsepower. Number 6. AMC Rambler V8. This engine was originally produced between 1956 and 1967 before getting an upgrade to the short-deck V8 and later the tall-deck V8. It debuted in the Nash Ambassador and Hudson Hornet specials of 1956. Number 5. Chevrolet 350 V8. This is probably the most widely used V8 engine ever made. It debuted in 1967 as a sportier version of the Camaro before moving on to the Nova and Beaumont. It was available with a series of configurations, including a 4-barrel carburetor. Number 4. Ford FE V8. While the Cobra Jet and Super Cobra Jet were the top end of the FE range, the regular FE V8 was a great engine that debuted in 1958 in the Edsel Ranger. It had a displacement of 5.4 liters and produced either 225 or 265 horsepower. Number 3. Chrysler RB V8. The Chrysler RB, which stands for raised block, was a series of V8s that predated the famous Hemi engines of the late 60s. It started from 6.3 liters, rising to 6.8, 7.0, and 7.2 liters in the top-spec 426. Number 2. Chevrolet 427 Big Block V8. The Chevrolet 454 V8 is probably the best known of the GM engines of the time, but it only arrived on the scene in 1970. The previous big block V8 was the 427, which produced a respectable 390 horsepower in its lowest trim. Number 1. Dodge 426 Hemi V8. Dodge had built hemispherical engines in the early 50s, but retired the idea in 1957 with the Super Red Ram pickup truck. The Hemi engine was revived in 1964 and came back better than ever before, featuring more advanced systems and better power. The Hemi-powered cars, such as the Dodge Coronet, Plymouth Barracuda, Dodge Charger, and Dodge Challenger, as well as non-American cars like the Jensen Interceptor and the short-lived Monteverde High 450. The Chrysler Hemi Vi 8 is one of the best muscle car engines ever made.